Welcome to Rising Path. In this video, we're beginning a new series on the South Node in the signs. The South Node is not a planet. It is a point in the birth chart connected to the moon's path, but symbolically it describes something very deep. The patterns we come in with, the instincts that feel automatic, and the parts of ourselves that seem strangely familiar. The South Node can show natural talent, but it can also show old conditioning. It can describe what we know how to do, what we fall back on under pressure, and the energy we rely on because it feels safe, even when it no longer feels freeing. This is why the South Node is so interesting. It is not simply bad karma. It is not something to hate, fear, or reject. In many ways, the South Node can be a place of wisdom. It can show gifts we have already developed, strengths that come easily, and ways of understanding life that feel deeply internalized. But the problem begins when we live there too much. The South Node can become the old script we keep reading from, the role we know how to play, the emotional habit that takes over before we have time to choose something different. It may feel comfortable, but comfort is not always growth. Sometimes comfort is just familiarity. Sometimes it is protection. Sometimes it is where we return because a newer way of living feels uncertain. The South Node often becomes most visible when life challenges us. Under stress, we may slide back into that sign's lower pattern without realizing it. We may repeat the same defense, the same reaction, the same emotional loop, or the same way of trying to stay safe. And that is where the real work begins. Because the South Node is not asking us to erase the past. It is asking us to become conscious of it. There is a difference between using a gift and hiding inside it. There is a difference between honoring an old strength and letting it control the whole life. When we understand the South Node, we begin to see why certain patterns feel so hard to break. We start to notice where something that once protected us may now be limiting us. The South Node always works with the North Node because they sit opposite each other in the chart. The South Node shows what feels known, while the North Node shows where life stretches us into new growth. But in this series, we're giving the South Node its own attention, because before we can move forward with awareness, it helps to understand what we are moving from. The sign of the South Node shows the style of energy the soul already knows well. It can reveal old instincts, old strengths, old fears, and old ways of surviving. It can show where we may be gifted, but also where we may become detached, avoidant, over-identified, or stuck in repetition. And this is not about shame. It is about recognition. Once we can name the pattern, we have more choice. We can use the gift without becoming trapped by it. We can carry the wisdom without repeating the wound. So as we move through the South Node in each sign, we'll explore the natural gifts, comfort zones, shadow patterns, and release lessons of every placement. Not as a sentence, not as a limitation, but as a deeper look at what the soul has practiced, what it may be ready to loosen, and how each South Node sign can become wisdom instead of unconscious habit. So let's begin the journey through the South Node in the signs and explore what this placement reveals about instinct, karma, comfort zones, release, and the wisdom we are learning to carry in a more conscious way. For a more personal understanding of your South Node, North Node, and full birth chart, please book a consultation for a deeper look at your astrology. And if you enjoy this series, please like this video and subscribe for more astrology content. South Node in Aries. South Node in Aries can feel like being born with a sword already in your hand. There is often a strong instinct to move fast, act alone, and trust the first impulse. This person may come into life with natural courage, independence, survival instincts, and the ability to take action when other people hesitate. They may know how to begin, how to fight for themselves, how to push through fear, and how to keep going even when support is nowhere to be found. But the old strength can become the old trap. With the South Node in Aries, the person may be so used to handling life alone that partnership feels complicated, slow, or even threatening. They may react quickly, defend quickly, leave quickly, and decide quickly, sometimes before the full situation has had a chance to breathe. There can be a deep belief that needing others is weakness. So they may become overly self-reliant, not because they never want love, but because depending on anyone may feel unsafe. It can be easier to say, I'll do it myself, than to sit in the vulnerability of asking, waiting, listening, or letting another person meet them halfway. Aries brings fire, but fire needs direction. When unconscious, this placement may live in a constant state of readiness, ready to defend, ready to compete, ready to move, ready to prove that no one can control them. Even in peaceful situations, the nervous system may act as if life is a battlefield. This can create impatience in relationships, sharp reactions, or a habit of turning small disagreements into a test of personal freedom. The person may not mean to be harsh, but the instinct to protect the self can arrive before tenderness has a chance to speak. The South Node in Aries can also show an identity built around being strong. The one who does not need help. The one who can survive anything. The one who acts first and processes later. And there is real power in that. But if strength becomes the only acceptable role, the person may lose access to softness, cooperation, and emotional nuance. Life becomes too lonely when every situation has to be conquered instead of shared. The North Node in Libra points toward a different lesson. This does not mean becoming passive, fake, or dependent on approval. It means learning the art of relationship, the art of listening before reacting, the art of considering another person without feeling erased, the art of choosing peace without feeling defeated. For a South Node in Aries, balance can feel unfamiliar because it requires patience. It asks the person to pause long enough to notice the other side of the story, not to abandon themselves, but to stop assuming that every pause is a loss of power. There is also an important lesson around conflict. This person may be very comfortable with direct confrontation, or they may attract it often because their energy is naturally forceful. But the growth comes from realizing that not every problem needs a sword. Some situations need a conversation. Some need diplomacy. Some need the courage to stay present instead of storming out, shutting down, or pushing through. Libra teaches that strength can be graceful, that honesty can have elegance, that compromise does not always mean defeat. The gift of South Node in Aries is bravery. These people can be bold, passionate, honest, motivated, and capable of taking risks that others avoid. They often have a strong life force and a fierce ability to start over. But the release point is the need to live in constant self-protection. They are learning that love is not automatically a cage. Cooperation is not weakness. Slowing down is not failure. And letting someone else matter does not make the self disappear. When this placement becomes more conscious, the person still keeps their fire, but it becomes cleaner, less reactive, less defensive, more intentional. They no longer need to prove their independence in every situation, because real independence does not fear connection. At its highest expression, South Node in Aries gives courage without combativeness, confidence without selfishness, and passion without burning every bridge. The wisdom here is learning when to lead and when to listen, when to act and when to invite, when to stand alone and when to build something with another person. So if you have South Node in Aries, your soul may already know how to fight, begin, survive, and choose yourself. The deeper lesson is learning how to share life without feeling trapped by it. You are not here to lose your fire. You are here to bring that fire into relationship with more grace, awareness, and love. The more you soften the need to do everything alone, the more your natural courage becomes something that connects instead of separates. For a more personal understanding of your South Node, North Node, and full birth chart, please book a consultation for a deeper look at your astrology. And if this helped you understand South Node in Aries, please like this video and subscribe for more astrology content. South Node in Taurus. South Node in Taurus can bring a strong instinct for comfort, loyalty, and self-preservation. This person may know how to keep life steady. They may be practical, patient, sensual, and naturally connected to the physical world. Food, money, beauty, nature, routine, touch, and peace can all feel deeply important. There is often a quiet strength here, the kind that can endure a lot without making a scene. But the challenge is that comfort can become a cage. With this placement, the person may hold on long after something has stopped feeding them. A relationship, a habit, a job, a belief, a lifestyle, or even an old version of themselves may remain in place simply because it feels familiar. They may call it peace when it is really avoidance. They may call it loyalty when it is really fear of letting go. They may call it patience when they are waiting for something lifeless to come alive again. That is the shadow of this placement, staying too long because change feels like danger. There can also be a deep need to control the material side of life. Money, possessions, security, and stability may carry emotional weight. The person may feel safest when they know what belongs to them, what they can rely on, and what will not suddenly shift beneath their feet. But life does not always respect comfort zones. Sometimes real growth begins when the person admits, this may be stable, but it is not honest anymore. The deeper lesson here is about loosening attachment, not rejecting pleasure, not rejecting money, not rejecting peace, but learning the difference between true stability and emotional stagnation. A good life should feel grounded, but it should not feel numb. A relationship should feel safe, but it should not require someone to ignore their deeper truth. A routine can be beautiful, but not when it becomes a way to avoid transformation. This placement may resist intensity because intensity threatens the neatness of things. Difficult conversations, emotional exposure, loss, desire, vulnerability, and change may feel messy or overwhelming. But those experiences can open the door to a more powerful kind of strength. Not the strength that simply endures, the strength that transforms. The gift of South Node in Taurus is the ability to build, stabilize, enjoy, and remain present. These people can bring calm to chaos. They can create beauty from simple things. They can teach others how to slow down, value the body, and appreciate what is real. But the gift becomes heavy when it turns into stubbornness. When I know what I like becomes I refuse to grow. When I need security becomes I will not risk anything. When I am loyal becomes I am attached to what is already gone. The soul is learning that letting go does not mean losing everything. Sometimes letting go is what allows life to become alive again. As this placement becomes more conscious, the person begins to trust change in a deeper way. They stop confusing calm with denial. They stop clinging to comfort that costs them their emotional truth. Their peace becomes stronger because it is no longer built on avoiding what needs to be faced. At its best, this placement carries earthy wisdom, patience, sensuality, and deep resilience. But the growth comes from allowing that strength to move, evolve, and open itself to something more honest. So if you have South Node in Taurus, you may already know how to survive, stay steady, and protect what matters. The next step is learning when holding on has become the thing keeping you stuck. You are not here to lose your peace. You are here to find a peace that can survive truth, change, intimacy, and transformation. To explore your own birth chart in a personal reading, please book a consultation. And if this helped, please like this video and subscribe for more astrology content. South Node in Gemini. South Node in Gemini can feel like a mind that never fully turns off. There is curiosity here, intelligence, humor, quick perception, and a natural ability to notice what is happening from 5 different angles at once. This person may be good with words, fast with ideas, and talented at making connections other people miss. They can explain things, translate information, ask clever questions, and keep a conversation alive. But sometimes the mind becomes so active that it turns into a hiding place. Instead of landing on a truth, the person may keep gathering more facts. Instead of trusting what they already know, they may ask one more person, read one more opinion, watch one more video, or rethink the whole situation again from the beginning. The problem is not intelligence. The problem is mental escape. South Node in Gemini may know how to stay busy in the head while avoiding the deeper voice underneath it. There can be a habit of talking around a feeling instead of actually feeling it, explaining the pattern instead of changing it, turning pain into a story, a joke, a theory, or a discussion before it has a chance to become wisdom. This is the person who can have 10 tabs open in the browser, 3 conversations happening, a podcast playing, and still wonder why their spirit feels tired. There may also be a strong fear of choosing one direction. Gemini likes options. It likes movement. It likes the freedom to change the sentence halfway through. So with the South Node here, commitment can feel strangely heavy, not only in relationships, but in beliefs, decisions, plans, and identity. If everything stays flexible, nothing has to be fully lived. That can become the trap. The person may keep life light because depth feels too final. They may avoid taking a stand because they can understand everyone. They may change the subject when a conversation becomes too honest. They may collect little pieces of truth from everywhere, but struggle to say, this is the path I am actually walking. There is also a nervous quality that can come with this placement. The person may overthink small things, replay messages, analyze tone, or look for clues in every word someone says. The mind becomes a weather vane, spinning every time new information blows through. But not every thought deserves a throne. Some thoughts are just noise. Some opinions are just distractions. Some questions are not opening the door to truth. They are delaying the moment when the person has to trust themselves. And that is a major lesson here. South Node in Gemini has already developed the ability to think, speak, learn, adapt, and observe. The next layer is learning which thoughts are useful and which ones are simply keeping the person scattered. Because information is not the same as meaning. A person can know many things and still avoid their own truth. They can be articulate and still be disconnected from the deeper life they are meant to live. They can sound confident in conversation while privately feeling pulled in too many directions. At its best, this placement is brilliant. It can make complex ideas simple. It can bring humor into heavy moments. It can write, teach, speak, connect people, share knowledge, and keep the world mentally alive. But the old pattern is using movement to avoid direction. Always asking, but not believing. Always learning, but not embodying. Always talking, but not always listening to the quiet truth beneath the words. As this placement becomes more conscious, the person begins to use their mind with more intention. They stop treating every new opinion as equally important. They become more careful with their attention. Their words gain weight because they are no longer just filling space. They are coming from lived experience. Silence becomes less threatening. Stillness becomes useful. The person begins to realize that they do not need to chase every thought to prove they are alive. So if you have South Node in Gemini, you may already know how to question, explain, adapt, and keep the mind moving. But your deeper work is learning when the conversation has gone far enough, when the research is complete enough, and when the truth is asking to be lived instead of discussed. You are not here to become less intelligent. You are here to become less scattered. Your words are powerful when they come from somewhere real. Your curiosity is a gift when it leads to wisdom instead of distraction. And your mind becomes far more peaceful when it stops trying to outrun the soul. To explore your own birth chart in a personal reading, please book a consultation. And if this helped, please like this video and subscribe for more astrology content. South Node in Cancer. For this placement, the past is never just the past. It lives in the body, in the memory, in the way the person protects themselves, cares for others, reacts to rejection, and searches for safety when life feels uncertain. South Node in Cancer often carries a deep emotional intelligence. This person may understand tenderness, family bonds, private pain, and the invisible moods that move through a room. They may know how to comfort people without needing instructions. They may sense what is wrong before anyone says it out loud. There is a natural caretaker here. Someone who remembers. Someone who feels deeply. Someone who may have learned early how to protect what is vulnerable. But when this pattern becomes too strong, the person can start living from old emotional weather. A family wound, childhood role, ancestral expectation, or past disappointment may quietly shape choices long after the original situation is over. They may stay loyal to people who drain them. They may feel guilty for growing beyond what they came from. They may confuse emotional attachment with love. And sometimes they may keep returning to pain simply because it is familiar. That is one of the harder lessons of South Node in Cancer. Not everything that feels like home is healthy. A person with this placement may have spent a long time being the soft place for others to land, the one who understands, the one who forgives, the one who keeps the emotional history alive. But if they are always holding everyone else's feelings, they may forget to build a life of their own. Care can become a trap when it has no boundaries. Love can become heavy when it is mixed with guilt. And sensitivity can become exhausting when every mood, memory, and family pattern is allowed to run the whole life. This placement is not asking someone to become cold. That would be the wrong lesson. The heart is not the problem. The problem is letting the heart stay trapped in old rooms. There is a difference between honoring your roots and being ruled by them. There is a difference between loving your family and carrying every unfinished story as if it belongs only to you. There is a difference between feeling something deeply and letting that feeling make every decision. For South Node in Cancer, growth begins when the person stops asking only what feels safe and starts asking what is actually strong for me. Sometimes the stronger choice is leaving the emotional pattern. Sometimes it is saying no without over-explaining. Sometimes it is allowing people to be disappointed while still trusting yourself. Sometimes it is building structure, discipline, and independence even when part of you wants to retreat into the familiar. This placement can struggle with emotional dependency, nostalgia, moodiness, or the fear of being unprotected in the world. There may be a tendency to hide inside the shell when life asks for maturity. But the shell that once protected the person can eventually become too small for the life they are meant to build. The beautiful part is that once this energy becomes conscious, the emotional wisdom does not disappear. It becomes stronger, cleaner, more mature. The person can still be loving, intuitive, and protective, but they no longer need to absorb everything. They can care without rescuing, remember without living backward, feel deeply without losing authority over their own life. At its best, South Node in Cancer gives warmth, compassion, loyalty, and a powerful understanding of human vulnerability. But the soul is learning that softness needs structure, emotion needs direction, love needs boundaries. So if you have South Node in Cancer, you may already know how to nurture, protect, remember, and feel. The deeper lesson is learning how to stop letting old emotional patterns decide your future. You are not here to abandon your heart. You are here to stop letting the past hold it hostage. The more you release guilt, dependency, and the need to stay small for the comfort of others, the more your sensitivity becomes wisdom instead of a place to hide. To explore your own birth chart in a personal reading, please book a consultation. And if this helped, please like this video and subscribe for more astrology content. South Node in Leo. There is a kind of fire here that people often notice before the person says a word. South Node in Leo can bring warmth, magnetism, creativity, pride, humor, and a strong sense of personal style. These people may know how to light up a room, entertain, lead with heart, or make life feel more colorful. There can be a natural dramatic instinct, not always in a negative way. Sometimes it is simply the ability to make a moment feel alive. They may have a deep need to create something that feels personal, a performance, a love story, a piece of art, a role that lets them feel chosen, admired, or special. And there is beauty in that. Leo energy reminds people that joy matters, self-expression matters, and the heart deserves a place in the story. But with the South Node here, the old pattern can become too attached to being seen in a certain way. The person may feel uncomfortable when they are not recognized. They may secretly measure their worth through attention, praise, romance, applause, or whether people make them feel important. If someone pulls away, ignores them, criticizes them, or fails to celebrate them, it can touch something very tender. Not because they are shallow, because somewhere inside, being loved and being noticed may have become tangled together. This can create a life where the person performs more than they realize. They may exaggerate confidence when they feel insecure. They may turn pain into drama because quiet pain feels invisible. They may chase the feeling of being desired, admired, or centered, even when the situation itself is not truly nourishing. There can also be pride, that makes vulnerability difficult. If the image is strong, the person may not want others to see the fear underneath it. If they're used to being the bright one, the talented one, the impressive one, or the one with the big personality, it can feel humiliating to admit loneliness, insecurity, jealousy, or the need for support. But the heart does not become freer through performance. It becomes freer through honesty. One of the lessons here is learning that attention is not the same as love. Attention can disappear quickly. It can be exciting, addictive, flattering, and still not feed the soul. Love is steadier than that. Real love does not always clap. Sometimes it simply stays, tells the truth, and allows the person to be human without needing a spotlight. South Node in Leo may also need to soften the need to make everything personal. Not every disagreement is rejection. Not every silence is an insult. Not every moment where someone else shines means their own light is being taken away. There is room for many stars, and that is where the deeper maturity begins. This person is learning how to share space without feeling erased, how to support others without needing to be the main character, how to bring creativity into community, friendship, collaboration, and causes larger than personal recognition. The creative fire is still important. It should not be buried, but it becomes healthier when it is offered, not demanded, when it inspires instead of competes, when it warms the room instead of needing the whole room to turn toward it. At an unconscious level, this placement may get caught in romantic drama, pride, comparison, or the need to feel exceptional. They may resist ordinary life because ordinary life does not always feel glamorous. They may confuse being admired with being valued, or mistake emotional intensity for passion. But as this energy becomes more aware, something beautiful happens. The person keeps the heart, but loses some of the performance. They become generous without needing credit for every gesture, creative without needing constant applause, confident without having to dominate the room. They begin to understand that their light is real, even when no one is currently pointing at it. At its best, South Node in Leo gives courage, artistry, warmth, playfulness, loyalty, and a powerful connection to the inner child. These people can remind others how to enjoy life, take creative risks, and express what lives in the heart. But the soul is learning not to depend on recognition as proof of worth. So if you have South Node in Leo, you may already know how to shine, love boldly, create from the heart, and bring color into the world. The deeper lesson is learning how to let that light become less attached to applause and more connected to purpose. You are not here to dim yourself. You are here to stop needing the spotlight to know you exist. The more you release pride, performance, and the hunger to be constantly validated, the more your natural warmth becomes something generous, steady, and truly powerful. To explore your own birth chart in a personal reading, please book a consultation. And if this helped, please like this video and subscribe for more astrology content. South Node in Virgo. With South Node in Virgo, life can sometimes feel like a room that always needs tidying. There is a sharp eye here. This person may notice the crooked picture frame, the strange tone in someone's voice, the missing detail in the plan, the thing that could be improved before anyone else has even realized there is a problem. That can be a real gift. South Node in Virgo can bring skill, intelligence, humility, and a strong instinct for usefulness. These people often know how to help in practical ways. They can organize chaos, solve problems, refine a craft, support others, and make life run better through small, thoughtful actions. But the trouble starts when life becomes one long correction. The person may feel as if they are never quite ready, never quite finished, never quite good enough. There is always something else to fix. The body could be healthier. The work could be cleaner. The routine could be better. The plan could be more realistic. The sentence could be rewritten one more time. And after a while, even ordinary living can start to feel like a performance review. This placement can carry a quiet pressure to be useful, not just helpful when needed, but useful all the time. The person may feel uncomfortable resting if there is still something that could be done. They may apologize too much, explain too much, or take responsibility for things that were never fully theirs to carry. Sometimes they become the fixer because it gives them a role. If they know what is wrong, they know what to do. If they are needed, they know where they belong. But being needed is not the same as being loved. And being competent is not the same as being free. South Node in Virgo may also struggle with the messier parts of being human. Big emotions, uncertainty, grief, confusion, longing, or spiritual questions may feel difficult because they cannot always be solved with a checklist. Some things cannot be cleaned up immediately. Some feelings do not improve just because we analyze them correctly. That can be frustrating for this placement. Virgo wants to understand the problem so it can make it better. But the soul is learning that not everything broken needs repair. Some things need compassion. Some things need time. Some things need to be surrendered instead of controlled. There may also be a strong inner critic. Even if this person is kind to everyone else, they may speak to themselves with a level of harshness they would never use on another person. They may notice every mistake and dismiss every success. They may keep raising the standard until peace is always just out of reach. That is the trap. Not work, not discipline, not improvement. The trap is believing that perfection will finally make them safe. The truth is, life does not become meaningful only after every flaw is removed. Love does not wait until we are fully optimized. Creativity does not need to be spotless. Healing does not always look organized. For South Node in Virgo, the deeper wisdom comes from learning when enough is enough. Enough effort, enough analysis, enough self-blame, enough trying to earn rest. This does not mean becoming careless or abandoning responsibility. The practical gifts are still valuable. The world needs people who can pay attention, who can serve well, who can notice what matters in the details. But those gifts become healthier when they are not driven by anxiety. As this placement becomes more conscious, the person begins to soften around imperfection. They still do good work, but they do not punish themselves into doing it. They still help others, but they stop treating everyone's life like an assignment. They still care about improvement, but they also make room for mystery, forgiveness, creativity, and trust. The medicine here is learning to breathe inside the unfinished, to let a moment be beautiful, even if it is not perfect, to let the body be a body, not a project, to let love be something received, not something earned through service. So if you have South Node in Virgo, you may already know how to work hard, notice details, improve what is broken, and be there when people need you. The deeper lesson is learning that your worth was never dependent on how useful you could be. You are not here to become careless. You are here to become kinder to yourself. And the more you release harsh self-judgment, constant correction, and the need to control every detail, the more your natural intelligence becomes a true healing gift, not only for others, but for your own life too. To explore your own birth chart in a personal reading, please book a consultation. And if this helped, please like this video and subscribe for more astrology content. South Node in Libra. The polite smile can become a very elegant hiding place. With South Node in Libra, there is often a deep instinct for harmony, beauty, manners, and relationship. This person may know how to make others feel comfortable. They may understand tone, timing, social atmosphere, and the unspoken rules of connection. They can be graceful, thoughtful, charming, and very aware of what keeps the peace. There is usually a strong ability to see both sides. And that sounds like a gift because it is. But when this pattern runs too far, the person may become so focused on balance that they lose contact with their own center. They may know what everyone else wants, what everyone else feels, what everyone else might prefer, but when asked, "What do you want?" the answer may not come easily. That is where the trouble begins. South Node in Libra can create a habit of adjusting too quickly. The person may soften their opinion before it has fully formed. They may agree to something because saying no would make the room uncomfortable. They may avoid directness because conflict feels ugly, rude, or dangerous. But peace is not always peace. Sometimes peace is just silence with resentment underneath it. Sometimes being easy to get along with means the person has trained themselves to disappear beautifully. This placement can also carry a strong attachment to being liked. Not always in an obvious way, It may show up as over-explaining, over-apologizing, checking someone's mood before making a decision, or feeling guilty for having a desire that does not fit neatly into the relationship. There may be a fear of being seen as selfish, difficult, harsh, or inconsiderate. So instead of moving honestly, the person waits. They wait for permission, for agreement, for the perfect timing, for a choice that will upset absolutely no one. But a life cannot be lived entirely by committee. At some point, the soul has to act from its own fire. The deeper lesson here is not to reject love, partnership, or fairness. Libra's gifts are real. This person may have a beautiful ability to cooperate, create harmony, understand people, and bring grace into complicated situations. But those gifts become painful when they are used to avoid selfhood. A relationship should not require the abandonment of instinct. Love should not mean becoming agreeable to the point of invisibility. There may also be patterns of staying too long in relationships because separation feels like failure. The person may keep trying to fix the dynamic, smooth the edges, understand the other side, and make everything fair. Even when the truth is simple, something is no longer right. South Node in Libra may need to learn that choosing themselves will sometimes disappoint people. And that does not automatically make the choice wrong. The medicine is directness, clean action, a stronger relationship with desire, the ability to say this is what I want without presenting a full legal defense afterward, the ability to move before every possible reaction has been measured and managed. This does not mean becoming careless with others. It means becoming honest enough that connection has something real to stand on. Because when this person is always performing harmony, other people do not actually meet the real them. They meet the edited version, the pleasant version, the version designed to keep everything smooth. And eventually, the soul gets tired of being well-behaved at the cost of being alive. As South Node in Libra becomes more conscious, the person starts to notice where compromise has turned into self-betrayal. They begin making choices with more courage. Their relationships become cleaner because they are no longer built on hidden resentment, quiet bargaining, or fear of conflict. The grace remains, but it gains a backbone. The kindness remains, but it becomes more truthful. The love remains, but it no longer requires self-erasure. So if you have South Node in Libra, you may already know how to relate, listen, cooperate, and keep the peace. The deeper work is learning when peace has become a performance and when your own voice needs to enter the room without apology. You are not here to become unkind. You are here to become real. And the more you release people-pleasing, indecision, and the need to be approved of before you act, the more your natural charm becomes something stronger, true integrity in relationship. To explore your own birth chart in a personal reading, please book a consultation. And if this helped, please like this video and subscribe for more astrology content. South Node in Scorpio. Some people learn early that life has layers. With South Node in Scorpio, there is often an instinct for what is hidden, unspoken, intense, or emotionally charged. This person may sense tension before anyone names it. They may notice secrets, power dynamics, jealousy, fear, desire, manipulation, and the deeper motives moving underneath the situation. There is emotional X-ray vision here. And because of that, this person may not be easily fooled. They can be perceptive, psychologically sharp, loyal, private, and incredibly resilient. They may know how to survive crisis, how to rebuild after loss, and how to move through emotional storms that would overwhelm someone else. But when Scorpio becomes the old comfort zone, life can start to feel like something that must be constantly investigated, defended, or survived. Peace may feel suspicious. Ease may feel boring. Simple love may feel too simple. The person may be drawn toward intensity because intensity feels real. If there is drama, longing, secrecy, danger, or emotional complexity, something inside them may wake up. But calm, stable, uncomplicated situations may feel strangely unfamiliar, as if something must be missing. That is one of the traps here, mistaking intensity for truth. Not everything painful is profound. Not every complicated bond is soulful. Not every emotional crisis is transformation. Sometimes it is just exhaustion wearing a mysterious outfit. South Node in Scorpio can also carry a deep fear of betrayal or loss of control. The person may test others without realizing it. They may hold back information, watch closely, prepare for abandonment, or keep one part of themselves protected even in relationships that have earned more trust. There can be a habit of scanning for the hidden threat. What do they really mean? What are they not saying? Where is the weakness? Where is the lie? This can make the person incredibly intuitive, but it can also keep the nervous system living in an underground bunker. Always alert, always reading between the lines, always ready for the emotional earthquake. And after a while, even love can begin to feel like a battlefield. There may also be old patterns around attachment. Scorpio bonds deeply, and when the South Node is here, the person may struggle to let go of emotional ties that have already done their damage. A relationship, betrayal, obsession, grief, or unfinished story may live inside them for far too long. They may say they have moved on, but part of the psyche is still holding the evidence. The deeper lesson is release. Not dramatic release, not burning the whole house down just to feel powerful again, but the quiet, steady release of what no longer deserves access to their energy. This person may need to learn that power is not always found in control. Sometimes power is found in refusing to be pulled back into the emotional underworld. Sometimes it is choosing peace without needing to prove that they could survive chaos if they had to. The beauty of South Node in Scorpio is depth. These people can love with enormous loyalty, understand pain without flinching, and help others face truths they were afraid to name. They can be healers, investigators, artists, mystics, therapists, strategists, or anyone who knows how to walk into the dark and come back with something useful. But the soul gets tired when every chapter has to be intense. There is a point where transformation becomes another addiction, another ending, another rebirth, another emotional emergency that proves they are alive. And the real growth is learning that life does not always have to be extreme to be meaningful. The body needs safety. The heart needs simplicity. The mind needs rest. A calm morning, a healthy routine, a stable relationship, money handled with care, food that nourishes, a home that feels peaceful. These things may sound ordinary, but for this placement, they can be deeply healing. As South Node in Scorpio becomes more conscious, the person stops feeding every emotional fire. They become more selective about what they merge with, what they investigate, and what they allow to consume them. Their intuition remains, but it becomes cleaner because it is no longer driven by fear. They begin to understand that trust is not stupidity, softness is not weakness, and peace is not the absence of depth. It is what depth feels like when it no longer needs to suffer to prove itself. So if you have South Node in Scorpio, you may already know how to survive intensity, read beneath the surface, and transform through pain. The deeper work is learning when the crisis is over, when the bond has become too heavy, and when your energy deserves to return to you. You are not here to lose your depth. You are here to stop drowning in it. The more you release obsession, suspicion, emotional extremes, and the need to control what cannot be controlled, the more your strength becomes calm, embodied, and truly your own. To explore your own birth chart in a personal reading, please book a consultation. And if this helped, please like this video and subscribe for more astrology content. South Node in Sagittarius. There is a restless truth seeker in this placement. South Node in Sagittarius often brings a soul that has traveled far in some way, mentally, spiritually, culturally, or literally. This person may come into life with strong beliefs, big questions, sharp honesty, and a hunger for meaning. They may be drawn to philosophy, religion, education, travel, foreign cultures, justice, storytelling, or anything that makes life feel larger than the everyday routine. They usually do not want a small life. They want a horizon. There can be wisdom here, and sometimes a natural ability to teach, inspire, guide, or speak with conviction. These people may have strong instincts about what feels true. They may sense the bigger pattern before others see it. They may be able to take a messy experience and turn it into a lesson, a principle, or a story with purpose. But the old pattern can become too attached to certainty. With this placement, the person may believe they already understand the meaning of something before they have listened closely enough. They may skip over details because they are chasing the larger truth. They may speak boldly, but not always notice how their words land. They may be so focused on the big picture that they miss the small facts sitting right in front of them. And sometimes truth becomes a weapon. Not because the person means harm, but because honesty without curiosity can become blunt, dismissive, or self-righteous. They may say, "I'm just being honest," when something softer, more precise, or more thoughtful was needed. South Node in Sagittarius may also carry a fear of being trapped by ordinary life. Too many details, too many questions, too many small conversations, too much repetition. It can all feel limiting. The person may want to escape into the next idea, the next trip, the next belief, the next adventure, the next grand explanation. But wisdom is not only found far away. Sometimes it is found in the conversation you almost dismissed, in the question you did not want to answer, in the detail that complicated your belief, in the neighbor, the sibling, the student, the message, the book, or the ordinary moment that teaches you something you could not have learned from a mountaintop. This placement is learning the difference between belief and understanding. Belief can be loud. Understanding listens. There may also be a tendency to become bored with nuance. South Node in Sagittarius can want one clear answer, one moral direction, one truth that makes everything make sense. But life is often more layered than that. People are complex. Stories have context. Words matter. Facts matter. Timing matters. The soul is learning that curiosity does not weaken wisdom. It refines it. Instead of rushing to preach, there is growth in asking another question. Instead of assuming the lesson, there is growth in staying with the information a little longer. Instead of needing to be the one who knows, there is freedom in admitting, "I may not have the whole picture." That humility can be powerful, because the highest version of this placement is not arrogant at all. It is generous, open, wise, funny, adventurous, and alive with meaning. It can inspire people to think bigger, live more honestly, and believe in possibilities beyond the narrow script they were given. But the wisdom becomes more useful when it becomes less absolute, less interested in winning the argument, more interested in real exchange. South Node in Sagittarius may already know how to search, believe, explore, and speak from conviction. The deeper work is learning how to listen without turning every conversation into a lesson. How to stay close enough to the details that truth becomes accurate, not just dramatic. How to let the mind remain teachable, even when the spirit feels certain. You are not here to lose your vision. You are here to make it more grounded, flexible, and connected. The more you release dogma, restlessness, bluntness, and the need to turn every experience into a final answer, the more your natural wisdom becomes something people can actually receive. To explore your own birth chart in a personal reading, please book a consultation. And if this helped, please like this video and subscribe for more astrology content. South Node in Capricorn. Some people learn responsibility before they learn how to relax. South Node in Capricorn can describe someone who comes into life with an old instinct for control, endurance, discipline, and self-sufficiency. They may know how to handle pressure, make a plan, stay composed, and keep going when emotions would slow someone else down. There can be ambition here, but also a deep seriousness, as if part of them has always felt life must be earned, managed, and carried carefully. This person may have been praised for being mature, capable, strong, or dependable. The one who does not fall apart. The one who gets things done. The one who keeps the structure standing. And those qualities can be powerful. Capricorn knows how to build. It understands time, effort, consequences, and the importance of becoming someone others can respect. But when the South Node is here, strength can become armor. The person may become so used to holding everything together that they forget they are allowed to be held too. They may push feelings aside because there is work to do, a goal to reach, a reputation to protect, or a standard to maintain. Vulnerability may feel inconvenient, embarrassing, or even unsafe. There can be a fear of looking weak. So instead of saying, I'm hurt, they may become colder. Instead of saying, I need help, they may work harder. Instead of admitting, I'm overwhelmed, they may tighten the schedule, raise the expectations, and keep moving like nothing is wrong. But emotional needs do not disappear just because they are well managed. South Node in Capricorn may also carry an old attachment to achievement. Success, status, respect, authority, money, career, or public image may feel tied to survival. The person may believe they have to prove their worth through accomplishment, and even when they achieve something impressive, the satisfaction may not last for long. There is always another mountain, another responsibility, another reason they are not allowed to rest yet. The deeper issue is not ambition itself. Ambition can be healthy. The issue is when achievement becomes a substitute for emotional nourishment. A person can build a beautiful life on the outside and still feel lonely inside it. They can be respected by many people and still not feel safe enough to be soft with anyone. They can be excellent at managing life and still not know how to receive care. That is where the growth begins. South Node in Capricorn is learning that control is not the same as security. Sometimes control is just fear wearing a professional outfit. Sometimes the need to stay strong is really an old habit of not trusting anyone else to be there. There may also be patterns with authority, either becoming overly controlled by authority figures or feeling the need to become the authority in every situation. The person may struggle to loosen their grip, delegate, trust the emotional process, or allow life to unfold without immediately turning it into a strategy. But not everything sacred can be scheduled. Not every wound can be fixed through discipline. Not every relationship improves because someone becomes more efficient. This soul is learning to return to the private self, the tender self, the tired self, the child inside who may have had to grow up too quickly. Family, home, emotional safety, softness, care, and belonging may become important healing themes, not as a retreat from life, but as a return to something human. The world may know what this person can do. The lesson is learning who they are when they are not performing strength. At its best, South Node in Capricorn brings wisdom, patience, maturity, leadership, and the ability to create something lasting. These people often understand responsibility in a way others do not. They can be steady under pressure and serious about what matters, but the soul becomes lighter when responsibility is no longer used as a wall against feeling. So if you have South Node in Capricorn, you may already know how to work, build, lead, endure, and keep your composure. The deeper lesson is learning that your worth is not measured only by what you accomplish or how much you can carry. You are not here to lose your strength. You are here to let your strength become warmer. The more you release emotional control, harsh self-expectation, and the need to prove yourself through constant achievement, the more your maturity becomes wisdom instead of weight. To explore your own birth chart in a personal reading, please book a consultation. And if this helped, please like this video and subscribe for more astrology content. Thought for 7S South Node in Aquarius. There is often an observer at the edge of the room with this placement. South Node in Aquarius can describe someone who learned to watch life before fully entering it. They may be intelligent, original, independent, and highly aware of people as groups, systems, movements, and patterns. They can often see what is strange, outdated, unfair, or artificial before others notice it. There is a cool brilliance here. This person may think differently from the crowd. They may have always felt a little outside the usual script, even if they were surrounded by people. Sometimes they are drawn to unusual ideas, alternative communities, astrology, technology, activism, science, social change, or anything that questions the way things have always been done. But the old pattern can become emotional distance. South Node in Aquarius may be very comfortable analyzing feelings, but less comfortable actually being inside them. They may explain emotions from a distance, turn pain into theory, or detach when situations become too personal. Instead of saying, that hurt me, they may say, people behave that way because of social conditioning. Accurate maybe, but not always intimate. This placement can also carry a habit of hiding inside the group. The person may know how to belong to a community, a cause, a friendship circle, or an online world, but struggle when life asks them to stand in their own individual heart. It may feel safer to be one voice among many than to say, "This is mine. This is what I love. This is what I created. This is who I am." There can be discomfort with being emotionally exposed. Romance may feel too dramatic. Praise may feel awkward. Personal attention may feel suspicious. Creative self-expression may bring up embarrassment, as if wanting to shine is childish, selfish, or too much. But the soul cannot live only as an idea. At some point, the heart wants a turn. Aquarius energy is powerful because it sees beyond the personal. It understands friendship, humanity, progress, and the importance of not being trapped by ego. But when overused, it can become cold, stubborn, rebellious for the sake of rebellion, or so focused on the collective that the person forgets their own joy. They may become attached to being different, not just authentic different, different as an identity, different as protection, different as a way to avoid the vulnerability of wanting ordinary human things: love, recognition, affection, celebration, romance, warmth, and the feeling of being personally chosen. There may also be a fear of standing out in a heartfelt way. Aquarius can stand out intellectually, socially, or politically, but Leo's style visibility asks for something more personal. It asks for warmth, play, risk, a little drama, a willingness to be seen not only as smart or unique, but as alive. That can feel surprisingly difficult here. The person may be comfortable discussing the future of humanity, but uncomfortable sharing the poem they wrote. They may fight for everyone's freedom, yet hesitate to claim their own creative desire. They may support other people's uniqueness while quietly keeping their own heart behind glass. The deeper lesson is not to abandon intelligence, community, or vision. Those are real strengths. The lesson is to stop using detachment as a shield against passion. Life becomes richer when this person lets themselves care openly, not just about causes, not just about concepts, but about their own happiness, their own love, their own art, their own place in the story. As this energy becomes more conscious, the person starts to come out from behind the protective distance. They become warmer without becoming fake, more expressive without losing originality, and more willing to take up space without needing to apologize for it. They still care about the bigger picture, but they no longer disappear inside it. They still value friendship and community, but they also allow personal love to matter. They still see the system, but they remember there is a beating heart inside the person living through it. At its best, South Node in Aquarius brings intelligence, originality, social awareness, and a gift for seeing possibilities others miss. But the soul becomes more alive when those gifts are joined with courage, creativity, affection, and personal presence. So if you have South Node in Aquarius, you may already know how to observe, detach, question, and think beyond the ordinary. The deeper lesson is learning when distance has become loneliness, and when being above the drama has also kept you away from joy. You are not here to lose your uniqueness. You are here to let it become warmer, braver, and more personal. The more you release emotional detachment, outsider armor, and the fear of being fully seen, the more your originality becomes something radiant instead of remote. To explore your own birth chart in a personal reading, please book a consultation. And if this gave you clarity, please like this video and subscribe for more astrology content. South Node in Pisces. South Node in Pisces can carry a soul that has spent a long time swimming in the invisible. This person may come into life with deep sensitivity, imagination, compassion, and an instinctive connection to music, dreams, symbols, spirituality, suffering, and everything that cannot be fully explained by logic. They may feel other people's emotions almost as if they were their own. They may sense moods, atmospheres, and subtle energies before anyone says a word. There is often a beautiful softness here, a forgiving heart, a mystical imagination, a natural ability to understand pain without needing it neatly explained. But Pisces can also blur the edges of reality. With the South Node here, the person may have an old habit of drifting when life becomes too sharp. Instead of dealing with a problem directly, they may escape into fantasy, sleep, spirituality, distraction, romance, confusion, or the hope that things will somehow dissolve on their own. Sometimes they know the truth, but do not want to name it. Sometimes they feel everything, but do not know what to do with any of it. Sometimes they give compassion to people who are not giving them respect. This placement can struggle with boundaries. The person may absorb other people's sadness, chaos, needs, and expectations until they feel exhausted and unclear. They may want to help, heal, forgive, or rescue, but end up losing themselves in someone else's storm. And because Pisces is so tender, guilt can become a hook. They may feel guilty for saying no, guilty for being practical, guilty for choosing peace over someone else's crisis, guilty for not saving people from lessons they need to learn for themselves. But love without boundaries can become suffering. And suffering is not always spiritual. That is an important lesson here. South Node in Pisces may romanticize sacrifice, longing, or emotional pain. There can be a feeling that if something hurts deeply, it must be meaningful. If someone is broken, they must need saving. If a situation is confusing, maybe it is mysterious, destined, or spiritually important. But sometimes confusion is just confusion. Sometimes mixed signals are a no. Sometimes the dream is beautiful, but the reality is asking for honesty. The soul is learning to come back to earth, not to lose faith, not to lose magic, not to become cold or overly practical, but to develop discernment, the ability to tell the difference between intuition and wishful thinking, compassion and self-abandonment, surrender and avoidance. There is also a need for structure with this placement. Small routines, clear choices, healthy habits, organized spaces, honest conversations, and practical steps can be deeply healing. These may sound simple, but for South Node in Pisces, they can be life-changing. The body needs care. The schedule needs shape. The dream needs a plan. The feeling needs a name. Pisces may want to float, but healing often begins when the person says, "What is the next real thing I can do?" As this energy becomes more conscious, the person stops letting life remain foggy. They still have compassion, but they no longer confuse compassion with rescuing. They still have imagination, but they begin turning it into something useful. They still trust the unseen, but they also respect facts, timing, effort, and consequences. Their spirituality becomes cleaner because it is no longer being used to avoid reality. Their sensitivity becomes stronger because it has boundaries. Their kindness becomes wiser because it no longer asks them to disappear. At its best, South Node in Pisces brings empathy, creativity, intuition, forgiveness, and a deep sense that life is more than what we can measure. These people can be artists, healers, dreamers, mystics, and gentle souls who remind others that the world needs softness. But the lesson is learning that softness still needs form. So if you have South Node in Pisces, you may already know how to feel, imagine, forgive, and surrender. The deeper work is learning when surrender has turned into passivity, when compassion has become self-loss, and when the dream needs to meet reality. You are not here to lose your magic. You are here to make it clearer, healthier, and more grounded. The more you release escapism, confusion, martyrdom, and the urge to dissolve into other people's pain, the more your sensitivity becomes a true spiritual gift instead of a place to disappear. To explore your own birth chart in a personal reading, please book a consultation. And if this helped, please like this video and subscribe for more astrology content.